Hi there, and welcome to Michigan Matters. He's weeks into his new job as Michigan's junior senator. So how is Gary Peters doing? He's here this morning, and we'll talk with him about it and his focus in the new job. Then County Executives L. Brooks Patterson and Mark Hackle join us for the roundtable. It's an action-packed conversation today on Michigan Matters.
From CBS 62, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Cain.
We're happy to have Gary Peters, Michigan's junior U.S. Senator, with us. It's so nice to have you here in studio.
It's great to be with you, Carol.
Well, last time we were together was down at the auto show, at the North American International Auto Show, walking the floor. And my goodness, the auto industry certainly is doing better. And now that you're going to be representing the industry in the Senate, your thoughts about how they're doing and your focus on that?
Well, it was very exciting to be at the auto show, and the products are incredible that we see coming out of our local manufacturers. And I sat on the Senate Commerce Committee, which has jurisdiction over autos and the highway traffic safety, and so we'll be very involved in that. And actually the issue right now, which is something that I commented, I think actually when I was on your program, is that although cars have torque and horsepower, my two favorite things, they're also into a lot of high-tech applications and are really communicating with each other. And now some of the debates we're dealing with in Washington is keeping the spectrum available so cars can communicate. And we had a hearing on the Internet of Things and how the cars communicate and stay away from each other, safety applications. Right. Actually, it is estimated that with this technology, 80% of car accidents could possibly be eliminated with the technology that's coming up. It's very exciting.
Well, and also with the driverless cars, I know John McElroy was with us a few weeks ago talking about the same thing, saying we could go to an accident-free situation here.
Yeah.
Be good news for us all, obviously.
Right.
But in your new role now, you were a congressman. Now you're a U.S. Senator, and you've had a few weeks to get into the job here. What's the biggest difference?
Well, it's I find it's smaller, so obviously, and that's really great. It's an opportunity to build relationships with some of the members. The House is much bigger. It was more difficult to do that, especially with folks in a bipartisan way on the other side of the aisle. And that hasn't been the case in the Senate. I've had an opportunity to get to know folks. Certainly my freshman class in particular. I'm the only Democrat. There are 13 new United States senators, 12 Republicans and me, but it's an opportunity for me to get to know these individuals on an individualized basis, so that's really been great.
What does that say to you about the Democratic Party, that you were the only Democrat in the entire country to win an open U.S. Senate seat in November? Yeah,
well, of course, we had a number of difficult states that were up this election, places that traditionally don't necessarily vote Democratic, particularly in an off-year election, places like Arkansas and Alaska and Louisiana. So it was, people expected it might be rough. It'll be different in 2016, but, I'm all about working together in a bipartisan way, and actually two of the House members that I had good relationships with in the House, Cory Gardner from Colorado and Shelley Capito from West Virginia, have now been elected to the U.S. Senate. They're part of my freshman class, and we're going to be introducing bills together and working in a bipartisan way.
And how will you be working with Debbie Stabenow, the senior senator here from Michigan?
Well, we're going to be working very closely. She's been a great ally, a great friend, and she's a real leader in our caucus as well. She's, especially when you look at what she did with the Farm Bill in the last session, she's about bringing people together and passing significant legislation. So I will learn a lot from our senior senator.
Speaking of advice, did Carl Levin, who held the position before you, did he give you any advice?
He did, and Carl, of course, is someone who I have the highest regard for as a public servant. Even if you didn't agree with Carl, people appreciated his integrity and his intelligence.
What was the advice?
Well, his advice was get to know your colleagues, basically. This is a very special place in the Senate, and you can build relationships here. Trust those relationships. Take time to get to know people on a personal basis, not just in policy, but get to know about their family and what they like to do when they're not in the political arena. And with that kind of trust, you can then do good things together. And
in the paying it forward scheme of the conversation here, Brenda Lawrence, who is now in the 9th Congressional District, advice that you may have given her.
Well, I guess I give the same advice to her as to do that. But I also, the advice I say is that spend a lot of time in your district, too. That it's important for you to take the job of being a representative very seriously, which I do. And that means you've got to be out in a community. You got to be listening. And if you're going to be the voice for folks in the state or in your district, you have to know what's on their mind.
And I know we're going to go to break break here shortly, but you've been here going on a listening tour, going around the state, and why did you decide to do that when you've been here your whole life and as congressman been going around the state and learning from people? Why the listening tour now? Well,
because it never stops. You have to keep listening. You have to be out in the community. So we have been visiting with various companies across Michigan. We've been at universities. We've been with community groups. You have to be accessible, and it never stops as issues are changing, and it's a big state. There are a lot of people to get to know and an awful lot of people to listen to.
What's the number one thing you're hearing from people?
Well, on the employment front or on the job front with some of the companies, actually they're looking for skilled employees and are having a difficult time finding the people, the types of skills that they need, particularly engineering, math, sciences, those kinds of skills.
The STEMs.
STEM,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of conversation about that going on. It seems to just go on and on and on here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we need to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Michigan Matters right after this.